There is a group known as the BROSR, and some of you won't even know who they are. That's the lack of impact that they have had on the hobby or even the old school showing itself. It is a group that I feel I single-handedly took apart. Every strong claim they've ever made, I have taken a wrecking ball to that claim. They claimed Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition was, well, wargaming. Then they claimed that it was raw in its presentation, other than the fact that it was only raw for tournament style. Then they talked about their view being the correct view about one-to-one timing and that sort of shared world idea that AD&D 1E brought to its tournament style of gaming. So I did a video comparing what they said they know, because they claimed to have discovered secrets or understanding that wasn't clear to everyone. And what you find out is, no, their view is not the same as TSR or Gary's. Or at least Gary at the time. Gary Gygax I speak of. I broke down every claim they made. They said they found secrets. I showed that there was no secrets that they found. They discovered nothing. Their claims simply do not match the reality. It's not wargaming. AD&D 1E at home, like every other edition, was not just a raw, focused game. And it wasn't wargaming. It was stepping away from wargaming, and Gary and TSR got criticized for doing exactly that. Stepping away from wargaming, not being wargaming at all. And this is well known if you actually were in the hobby during that era. You would know it wasn't wargaming. It got complaints for stepping away from it. You would know OD&D, Beck Me, 2nd edition, was never raw and focus. Raw was something, or rules as written, was something that really got pushed during the tournament gaming that AD&D 1E presented. But the at-home game was still like every other edition. Every claim the BROSR has made, I have taken apart. It has been incorrect. They were wrong. For that reason, many of their top members, people well known, all block me on social media and will not respond to anything I said. I took apart everything, single-handedly took apart an entire group's claim. They went on for 2 years, and I was pretty nice. In the first 2 years, I would keep telling them, in a vague way, hey, you're wrong. You should really look into what you're talking about. They said they were reintroducing a style that had went away. But in reality, multiple groups have been doing the shared world and the one-to-one time the entire time. There are even groups consistently doing it at the time the BROSR showed up saying, look at what we found, we're reintroducing the hobby to this. Well, they didn't have to reintroduce certain groups to it. They were already doing it and had been doing it for decades. It never went away. The fact that their claims never lined up with any facts or truth really tore it down. I remember for 2 years, they would go on about AD&D 1E on their post. It's wargaming, it's wargaming. I did my coverage, and they refused to respond to what I said, but to show you I had impact, they had to start coming out saying, we're disappointed that AD&D walked away from wargaming, and we should reintroduce that to wargaming. A complete change from it's absolutely wargaming to, okay, they acknowledge it's not wargaming. Period. But what made that change happen? What caused those statements to be made from absolutes that it is to absolutes that they know it's not? That's me correcting the record. What about the one-to-one timing? When they said they figured out what TSR was really pushing, and then I did a comparison video, and what TSR and Gary was pushing is not the same as what they are pushing. Absolutely two different things. Not the same. Not the same. No secrets discovered at all. Did they acknowledge what I said? Did they respond to any of it? No, but I have caused them to change their language. 2 years of harsh, egotistic language, of talking like they knew something the rest of us didn't, only to find out when it came to every claim they made, they were in error. Nothing they said was correct, spot on, or even the truth. It was far away from reality, period. And I've shown what real old school Dungeons and Dragons is all about. It ain't wargaming. The focus of rules as written isn't the core focus of old school D&D whatsoever. Gary believed you should learn the game and master it through rules as written raw. But after that, he expected you to tweak, and that included even the core rules. Just like his design team did. Tweak it from edition to edition. Meaning, if you knew the game well enough, you could simply do it. He understood that, and his team understood that. That's why they made changes. If changes were to wreck it, or not make it D&D, how can you go from one edition to another, tweaking these core rules, and still call what you're putting out D&D? So they can't do it. They couldn't do it if that was the case, but they could, because they knew there was a feel and an essence to what Dungeons and Dragons is, and if you maintain that, regardless of your tweaks, it was still Dungeons and Dragons. And I prove that point. You can tweak core rules, use the optional stuff, or even alter optional stuff that could be used. You could alter everything, but there is a feel, there is a structure you should stay in. It shouldn't take away the feel of what D&D is, and that's how the team went from one edition to another, making tweaks, but keeping a feel, keeping an essence of what Dungeons and Dragons is, and that was good enough. And Gary Gygax knew you at home would sooner or later, just like his design team, would master the actual game to the point you could confidently make changes. I don't have a hate on for the BROSR, and I really delayed calling them out for 2 years because I knew every detail. I knew they were wrong on everything. I didn't need an ego boost. I didn't need smoke blown up my ass for being right. But it got to a point where I got sick of hearing them, and then they started attacking me. They started going on about me, so I just got to the point where it's like, okay, you want me to respond? Here, let me embarrass you. No one else has, so I will. I will show that you are wrong about every claim you have made. And I showed it factually, that they were wrong about every strong claim they made. Incorrect, period. End of story. In reality, I wasn't really happy about doing it. I thought they would humble up. But they act like their whole egotistic pitch was a gimmick for fun. But it was never fun. They'd verbally stomp on people, attack people, go after people. It was never soft. It was never just a joke. And guess what? When they finally get called out, instead of being humble enough to say, guess what, we were wrong. Nope. They just ignore being called out completely because they cannot handle being wrong. They couldn't handle it at all. But guess what? Doesn't really matter. Because now their impact on the hobby is pretty much nil. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. They have no impact, and they barely had an impact when they were running their mouth all the time for 2 straight years. Right? They had a bit of an impact. They drew some people, but they're not drawing that type of people now. People aren't lining up at the door for them anymore because it's shown that they were wrong. What people have done is taken some of the ideas they pitched out there, but really, they just repitched what other people were already doing. One-to-one time, shared worlds. Groups have been doing it for decades. So if you're out there and you're someone who's picked that up to the BROSR, good on you for finding ideas from them that you want to use. Nothing wrong with that. But let's make it clear, if you're using old school one-to-one timing and you think it came from them as some rediscovery, let me correct you. You're just using something that has been in existence for decades and being used by other groups for decades. You're just one more group in the mix. And I welcome you to the hobby, and you can take part in any way that you please. Shared world, multiple DMs. I did it. I was a part of some of it. I still prefer just with your group. I prefer that. And I make it clear to people that do these shared world things, what you're doing is not better than what I'm doing. Nor am I claiming what I'm doing is going to be better than what you're doing. Whatever suits you is good for you. But if you do have the nerve to pretend that what you're doing is better than me, let me correct you right away. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And the majority of people out there I see doing shared worlds, I'd run circles around all day. So if you don't want me saying I'm better than you, don't dare try to say that you're better than me. Because if it comes down to proving the point, I'll run circles around you. And then we can have that ego game. But I prefer not. I'm okay with just saying you do what suits you, and I do what suits me. There you go. So, I still get asked, again, who are the BROSR? Well, it really doesn't matter anymore. They were here. They were gone. They're still here, but they're really gone. And they'll have no more impact going forward because they chose to do something really stupid, which was lie, make up lies, and not research any of their claims at all. Very unwise with their approach, and they have paid a social price for that. There you go. Okay.